Tired of the endless strife, living in a multicultural community always entails strife that is always a one-way street. We all know how that goes. A group of several dozen white people in Arkansas have decided to establish a white-only little community on private property on approximately 150 acres, but instead of being happy for them that they found peace and community and neighbors that they share common interests and cultures with, many, particularly on TikTok and in the liberal media, are very upset with them. Here's a little hit piece that NBC News put together on them.
No blacks, no Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only. They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
Well, and protecting your community from you-know-who.
A few years ago, I couldn't breathe, but then I started taking this, Comply. Now I breathe just fine.
Side effects of Comply may include dizziness, obedience, improved breathing during police encounters, and sudden respect for authority. Do not resist while taking Comply. Ask your officer if Comply is right for you.
This is a white culture, a whites-only place.
This guy's real quick. Ordinarily, such an endeavor would be illegal under the ridiculous laws that have been put in place in the once land of the free in the United States, which is supposed to enable people to have the right to assemble. That's part of the First Amendment. A right to assemble on public property and on private property with who you want, and to not allow who you don't want. But these guys are smart. They're operating as a private members association, which has totally different rules than a public business or a landlord who owns some apartment complexes about who they can and cannot rent those apartments to. But the Arkansas Attorney General has launched an investigation into them anyway, and undoubtedly will try to sue them into bankruptcy for exercising what should be their First Amendment right, the freedom of association on private property. But when a group of black families bought several acres of land in Georgia to create a blacks-only community as a safe haven for their culture and an escape from white people, then of course CNN and other news outlets praised them for their amazing endeavor.
You hear that? That is the sound of freedom.
Feels really amazing. I cry every time I come here.
Why were these two women interested in the prospect of buying a town in the first place?
We needed to create a space and a place where we could be a village again, a tribe again.
So Renee and Ashley reached out to family and friends, and together they bought what they intend to name Freedom, Georgia, a new black city. The owners hosted the Big Black Campout over Labor Day weekend. Supporters drove in from across the country.
That is our vision, and to be able to pass this land down to my children and to the children that are represented by each of our 19 families as a piece of legacy. We're hoping to create legacy.
Yeah, well, that's been about 5 years, but I don't think they've done anything other than turn that land into basically a campground.
A whites-only community in Arkansas. This is where we're at in America today. What the f*** do you mean you don't want to be around people that look like me? Us brown people are cool as hell. Positive vibes, good food, beautiful people. What the f*** do you mean you guys want to live in a whites-only community?
Well, maybe you should ask black people why so many of them feel that they need to live in a black-only dorm when they go to college. And maybe ask them why so many need to attend an HBCU, a historically black college or university, of which there are 107 in the United States, as identified by the U.S. Department of Education, which are those schools which used to be black only before the forced integration, before segregation laws were broken. And so now, I guess some white people, for some odd reason, actually attend these schools. But, I mean, HBCUs are basically black-only colleges. And maybe ask them why so many of them feel they need to have a black-only graduation ceremony at the colleges that have diversity, which then often look like this. A total circus, throwing up the black power fist as Jamal gets his bachelor's degree in African studies.
Aramis Anderson said the last shall be first and the first shall be last. Receiving a Bachelor of Arts in Disciplinary Studies field, Political Economy, Legal Studies, and African American Studies. He said disbursement and allocation, reparations for African Americans, and opportunity.
Imagine being so out of touch with things that you don't understand why these people are doing this, and instead getting upset about it when you hear about it because they don't want anything to do with you.
A whites-only community could be coming to Springfield, Missouri. Yes.
Yes, they're expanding, by the way, and that's another reason why they're extremely upset.
You heard that right. In 2025, a whites-only community. There's a group called Return to the Land, a self-declared whites-only organization already based in northern Arkansas. Their co-founder just announced that
Shouldn't these people be glad and happy for them? Because if someone doesn't want to be around you for whatever reason, why would you want to be around them? And then just continue to aggravate them and drive them away even further.
What the is white culture? Break that down for me, Billy Bob.
Well, it's American culture because the United States was created as a satellite colony of England, you may recall, which then became the greatest country in the world. We established the Bill of Rights, which contains freedom of speech, the Second Amendment, right to a speedy trial by the jury of our peers, you know.
What is white culture? Mayonnaise, yellow salads, unseasoned food, unwashed legs, stealing from other people and repackaging as your own? What is it? What the fuck is white culture? So you guys are neo-Nazis. You're neo-Nazis. Just say you want to replicate an all-white place and you believe in neo-Nazism. Got it. Racist people are the funniest to me because what they really want is
to get away from people like this.
Ooh, this lady in here stealing with her kids. Ooh, it's so obvious.
Don't touch us, ma'am. Don't touch us. Don't touch us, ma'am. Don't touch me, my kids.
Okay, she just pulled out a gun.
Ma'am, don't touch us. Move, ma'am.
Mother of the year, right here. With her teenage sons, that's some back to school shopping right there. Ghetto style.
You can have that, you ain't getting this. Come on, we gotta get the basket.
A couple years ago, HBO produced a documentary called South to Black Power, encouraging black people to move and congregate back down south in order to change the demographics, in order to make them all a black majority so that they could then gain political power and then put their people into positions of power within local and state governments to then advance black-only interests.
I'm trying to find a way we can lift the burden off the shoulders of black people of white supremacy.
Of living around white people. Of course he means. Of having white people in positions of power.
What if we skip over all that hoping? What if we skip over all of the pleading and the begging and the marching and the shouting and go straight to the power? During the Great Migration, about 6 million black people left the South for cities in the North and West. I suggest that black people return to the states with the highest percentages already of black people, where they can gain political power.
Of course, it's always celebrated when blacks, Asians, Latinos, every non-white ethnic group decides to collectivize in order to strategize and vote and implement strategies that will preserve, protect, and advance their interests as an ethnic group. But as soon as a few dozen white people decide to just start a nice little community down in the South, then all hell breaks loose. Because of the increasing and now systemic anti-whiteism everybody is aware of in America over the last decade or so, with the rise of Black Lives Matter and then supercharged by the George Floyd insurrection, many white people are starting to become what's called racially conscious and seeing that maybe they should start identifying as a collective group and putting their ethnic interests ahead of others like all other ethnic groups do as well. This is leading to what's called white identitarianism or white identity politics. Here is Ashley Jardina, the author of a book, White Identity Politics, which is sort of an attempted scholarly overview of what it is that's happening, even though she is very against it, as are all mainstream conservative commentators, trying to get ahead of it in order to toxify such ideology. But here is Ashley Jardina, who I believe is like an associate professor at Duke University, admitting this.
So tell me a bit about the lack of correlation you found between racial resentment and white identification.
Yeah, this is something that I think people often find quite surprising. Part of it is the sort of motivation to wonder about the difference between white identity and racial attitudes. And I think a lot of people suspect that if you have a high level of white identity, then you probably do also have a high level of or high degree of racial resentment. And for those of you out there who are thinking about correlations, the correlation actually between white identity and racial resentment is only about 0.13, just a very small correlation.
Now, before you go out and buy her book, you should know that it is an extremely boring and dry scholarly read. Jared Taylor's book, on the other hand, which covers white identity, which is the title of his book, White Identity, Racial Consciousness in the 21st Century. Well, I guess I'm not supposed to endorse this book because then I'll be called a white supremacist. So I will neither confirm nor deny whether or not I have purchased this book off of thriftbooks.com or booksamillion.com or ebay.com after I saw that it was banned on amazon.com. The mainstream conservatives are really wrestling with this as white people are tracking to become a minority in the United States as a whole in the next 20 years. Something else they don't want to talk about is the fact that white people are already and have been a minority in like a half a dozen different states in this country for years.
I also think a lot of people, especially white Christians, they're resisting identity politics. They don't want to go to that next step, but that's where it's heading. I mean, it's going there quickly. I mean, white identitarianism is going to happen, and they want it to happen.
They're creating it, and I speak for my...
They, he says, are the left. Actually, they don't want it to happen because this is just a natural reaction of them targeting and smearing white people, blaming white people under cultural Marxism as the evil bourgeoisie, the ruling class conspiring to keep all BIPOCs, all blacks, indigenous, and people of color down.
And I speak for myself as someone who's 54 and grew up in a totally different country. I don't want to identify as white. I don't even like thinking about that stuff. I like thinking about how people really are. I don't like thinking of them as members of groups.
Yep.
And they're pushing it. They're like, everyone has an identity. Everyone's a member of an identity group except the majority who are despised, and we're trying to make them into the minority, but you're not allowed to organize as a specific as your identity. And it's like they're not only encouraging it, they're guaranteeing its emergence.
And that was Tucker Carlson then, and this is Tucker Carlson now, who's having a slightly different view on things.
Well, just on principle, like every other group in the world has the right to its own homeland except white people? Like what?
Yeah.
Like,
and communities?
Tell me, just explain to me how that makes sense. Either no group has the right or every group has the right. Yep. It's really that simple. And if you want to say no group has the right, okay. You might even convince me. I don't know. I'm not a race guy, actually, by my temperament at all. I'd kind of like to ignore it. But as long as some groups have a right to self-determination, then every group has a right. It's that simple. Yes. And if there's a special carve-out where one group doesn't have a right, you have to explain to me why that group doesn't have that right.
Yep.
Absolutely. Is that fair?
No, it's absolutely fair.
That's right, but when whites want to do that and keep the European countries like Sweden and Germany and Poland and Hungary predominantly white and don't want them flooded with a bunch of Arabs and blacks from the third world, then they're denounced as white nationalists and white supremacists. Just like a group of a few dozen Americans who just want to have a nice little white town in Arkansas. I'm Mark Dice. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you're new here. And if you enjoy watching my videos, you want to get a great shirt and support my work, head on over to my online store, markdice.com, and order the new Alligator Alcatraz shirt. Get the classic Sorry No Vacancy, Deport Them All shirt, the I Love White People shirt, or any of my awesome designs, all available in a t-shirt, long sleeve, and a hoodie, and now tank tops and women's designs, and a whole bunch of different colors as well. So head on over to markdice.com or click the link in the description below and check them out.